Like, what are some of the craziest lawsuits you've been a part of?
Oh, Lord. I defended banks.
Banks?
I defended banks kicking old ladies out of houses.
Oh, no.
It was that. It was literally that.
Do you feel like you sold your soul a little bit on that?
There were a few nights where I couldn't physically type the brief to get rid of the person from their house.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the cases, the bank is not at fault. It's a machine. It's capitalism. You're late on your payments for years. We got to get you out of here. You're not paying your mortgage. Who's supposed to pay?
Yeah.
Are you ready to get down to earth? It's Raven Hernandez. Let's do it.
Mr. Jason.
Oh, baby.
Oh, boy.
Raven.
Are you ready?
I'm more than ready. I'm excited.
Let's get right into it.
Okay.
All right. So you're a rebel within the Orthodox community.
I am.
Why? Well, how did that happen?
I've been a rebel my whole life, but I just started asking questions and there weren't really answers. I kind of struggled with atheism even as a young kid. Yeah, like I realized if I go to this rabbi, he'll explain the situation to me in one particular way. If I go to a priest, then he'll explain it in a particular way. So I was like, okay, then it's just a matter of which smart guy I'm going to talk to on that day. And so eventually I just kept digging into this hole and pulling that thread, which took away the whole rug.
It literally unraveled it all.
Yeah. With the dogmatic principles of like Morgan Freeman-esque dude in the sky pulling the strings, not really the case. So then I was like, oh my gosh, what's real? What's not? And then there's this soft landing of reflection and the traditions still matter and finding
That's
my
where
own
you
place.
landed, is that tradition still matters.
On some level, sure.
On some
What was
What was
level.
the big question for you that you didn't feel that either you didn't like the answer it didn't make sense? Like, what was that question that really kind of solidified the, I'm not going to just like blindly follow?
It wasn't one question. There's tons of questions. I guess the first question I was like, okay, why should we care about dying if there's a heaven? And then like nothing anyone was saying made any sense. So I was like, okay, red flag there. Another thing for me is women and I don't know, just in general, anytime you're oppressing free thought.
That's the thing for me, is just women. You are our first male guest on the podcast.
Look at that. A white, straight, Jewish male being the minority on the Raven Hernandez show.
I love it.
No, you're awesome. Yeah, I've seen some of your work. Really good already, just out of the gates.
Well,
amazing stuff. Can't wait to see where you take it.
I have a good team.
I bet.
So
you're
women
very gracious.
was a thing for you.
Well, there's certain things that I think that they're very interested in keeping that traditional family nucleus. So there's a lot of things that are done in order to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And I'm all about free thought, free expression. And so anytime you're suppressing that, that's a big no for me. And I feel like people just get so caught up though in everything. There's a sunk cost fallacy in everything. So it's not just like, oh, my religion is that. Oh shit, sorry about that.
It's not
about oh, my religion was so bad. It's any type of adherence to just we're gonna do this thing.
To do this thing.
And then the next generation does it. Like, think about schooling. So it's like, is that the best way to raise children? Is that the best way that we should be teaching the next generation of kids? Like, put them in front of some guy that's been there 27 years. The guy's burnt out of his mind. You're going to teach them cursive, Pythagorean theorem. These have nothing to do with like avoiding credit card debt or how the government works or feelings or what type of character you want to have. But we're all just like doing this thing. And we keep slotting our kids into this path that's just not unique and individual.
How do you see that you're going to teach your kids? Like,
I don't know. I would hope that there's some better way than a schooling system. Maybe like a pod. You know, maybe if you have a kid and I have a kid at the same time, we can create a pod.
That's my goal. This is actually my goal. So what I'd like to do is have a group, a pod. It's a great way of, I'm gonna coin that. I'm gonna have a pod.
Take it, run with it.
We're gonna run with it, and we just have rotating teachers, professors that like, hey, for this year or this couple months, all you're going to learn about is science from this really cool scientist.
From someone that you would want to hang out with.
Literally.
Right? From someone
for 4
cool.
months, that's all you're going to learn about. It's not going to be anything else but that. And you're just going to be so entrenched into that to the point where you're like, okay, like I'm tired of dealing with this, because you've gotten to the, you know, the existential question within that subject where it's like, okay, now I can go learn something else.
Love it. Yes. Yeah? And allowing kids
you're
to just
be
be
in my
free.
pod?
Definitely. You'll be in my pod. We'll see how.
Okay, well, we'll see how it all works. So we got
I'm kidding. It'll be egalitarian. No, it'll be egalitarian.
You can pay. Actually, it'll be your pod. You can pay for it all.
I'm curious your perspective though on the Orthodox community. Yes, I am definitely a rebel in many ways, and you are someone that I felt very trustworthy to, I don't know if that's the right word, to bring you in to a lot of people's homes when you were raising money for your company. I was like, okay, I know certain people, and I didn't just bring you to their offices. Like I brought you to their kitchen tables. Literally.
Yeah.
And you can see the beauty. I'm still very much a part of it. I love it so much. There's certain quirks and isms and cultural things that have developed that I'll never be able to get away from. I don't want to. I'm so curious your perspective on all that.
On the Orthodox.
Yeah, like, and they loved you. So like, I'm curious what you thought.
That's Hispanics.
Is that?
There was a couple.
I don't think they even knew that. They didn't.
There was a couple though. There was like, the Hispanic community has been built in this country. We really respect them. So great job.
Really?
You don't remember? We're not gonna say names. So the question.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah. I love the community. I respect the community so much. I grew up in a very untraditional space with having this single mother who was from Central America, who didn't necessarily have much community because one, she was an immigrant, and two, she was a single mother trying to raise a child. She didn't have time to build community. But on the other hand, I had my paternal family, and I don't know if you know this, my paternal grandfather is a Baptist Nazarene preacher. So I grew up in a world where I had family members selling drugs and I had family members on the pulpit. Very, very two different places. And I think what really struck me after spending time in the Orthodox community, what really struck me is that they believe wholeheartedly in community to the point where it rules their life. And you can say that's a negative or a positive, but sometimes
I love that phrasing. It's so true.
Sometimes in other like Christianity and other religions, it's like it's just this thing they do on Sunday for 1 hour. Whereas like in the Orthodox community, this is my life. Right? This is what I subscribe to, and it's going to, and I told you this, but when we were celebrating that holiday, and it was a Sunday at 9 p.m., right? And in the entire neighborhood, it's completely dark, but everyone's in their homes, and they've cooked an entire meal for people who on Monday promised they were going to be there. And there is no calling them and being like, hey, last minute, I'm not showing up. Like, that is not an option. And so this commitment all week long of, hey, I'm going to Jason's house on Sunday at 9 o'clock. And it's not like Jason texted me, Sunday morning, hey, are you still coming? It's like an understood. You're coming because you said you were going to come. And I really value that and respect that within the community.
So beautiful. It was worth it to bring you around just to hear all that. No, really, that's amazing. It's so true. The communal aspect, how it rules their lives. I never put it in that phrasing, but there's so many different organizations within the community that don't make any sense. Like people will lend money for projects. People will allow. There's a EMT service that, I mean, it's for anybody, but it's within the Orthodox community. They know the number to call, and it's much faster than 911. It's lighter things. They're not going to do surgery in your backyard, but if someone faints or passes out, there's like that extra sort of thing. People will lend dresses to each other. There's like a wedding dress. They call them gemachs, where it's like
beautiful,
kind of like that library where you put a book in and you take one out. It's just countless. Like you said, also just opening your home. So it's really beautiful.
I love
those
that.
aspects. Yeah,
I love it, and I love that you. What's even more beautiful is like you've questioned everything and you're still there, right? It's not like they were like, oh, Jason questioned everything, so now he can't come over, right? It's like They know. It's like, okay, yeah, Jason likes to question stuff, but we still love him and he's still part of our family, and I think that's really special too, because in other types of religions, it's like you question, you leave. Don't question. And I don't know if you've experienced probably a little bit of that, maybe, but not really.
I guess not really ultimately, because I'm still able to function. I mean, you put on that little yarmulke hat and then you can you're just in this huge club. I can go anywhere. I studied abroad. I've been around the world. And if you're wearing that hat and you go into a temple on a Friday night, there's going to be someone that's going to invite you for a square meal at their house. Yeah. And then you're just like inserted in the most intimate conversations, and you're just there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So to backtrack, because we jumped right in, I wanted to ask the hard questions up top.
Okay.
Why did you become an attorney?
Becoming an attorney, that's nature nurture. I was always complaining loud and publicly. So they're
Still
always
do.
like, still do. And the kids and everyone's like, oh, you're going to be a great attorney. And you just hear that your whole life. And you're like, I think I should be an attorney. Like,
Wow, where did I come up with that?
Where did I come up with that? And so I did that. And I went to UCLA and now I'm an attorney.
Yeah. How long have you been practicing now?
6 years now.
And what do you find most rewarding about being an attorney?
The power. The understanding of how things work, how to get money out of a problem, and how people can try and mess you over, but you can, if they throw a bunch of jargon at you, because really it's just one extra vocabulary test. That's the whole thing of law. It's just like, you know a little bit more of what that vernacular means, like deeper than just a contract, certain legalese you understand, so then no one can pull a fast one on you.
Yeah.
That's most of being a lawyer.
That's what kind of made me, initially I was drawn to it because of the power, but then it's actually what made me scale back and be like, do I actually want to do this? Because I hate to say it, but I'm the kind of person who really doesn't like to come in first place. Because when you're in first place, the arrow's on your back, right? Like people want to take you down when you're a king or when you're a president or when you're a first. It's always like, I want to be first, so I need to take out who's first. And when you're an attorney, because you have that power, you also have the ability to fail big and affect other people. So like I started getting really concerned because I don't like to kind of do things at 100%. I really like the 95 because 95 is still an A. I was like, ooh, if I did stuff at 95%, like I could mess up someone's life. I could fail a case, and this person could go to prison, lose a bunch of money. Like it's a big failure, and I think that kind of made me rethink and kind of question my desire to practice.
I feel like you just understood that it was sometimes boring, and you're like, oh, I want to not be in a boring profession. I don't think that you are someone that can't finish first, even if that's not maybe your drive, which has to be in law. Law is a zero-sum game. Litigation is a zero-sum game. I win, you lose.
Every time. Yeah. And that's actually why I even liked mediation, because so I did mediation in law school the entire time, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a nice balance of, it's not necessarily win or lose, it's getting to a place of everyone feels like they won a little bit, even though everyone kind of lost a little bit. So I was like, I like that better. But when I realized that it was a 65-year-old white man's game, that you can't really be a mediator at 22, 23, like you've got to like pay your dues. It's kind of like the retirement game. And I was like, oh, well, damn. Okay. What can I do if I can't do that? That was kind of the situation. What do you not like about being an attorney?
There's a certain weirdness in being in this vortex of money that only comes about when people get injured. So it's like,
ooh,
okay, hey, wow, your husband broke his legs. It's like, yes. Okay, I'd love to help you. Or like, you got framed for murder. I'm so sorry. Like,
yes, this is going to be a great case.
This is amazing. Like
an 18-wheeler killed your whole family? Oh my God.
No, you want them to be alive because then there's pain and suffering. If they're dead, it's worth less. You want like traumatic brain injuries and like
lost limbs.
Yeah, that
like,
kind of stuff can really just change the human psyche.
Yeah.
We're already so selfish, and then it's like, I benefit from you going down. That's hard to not change you as a person. So that's kind of a difficult friction to bounce up against.
How have you balanced not letting it change you?
I just don't. I'm a superhero. I mean, it's not true. It probably has changed me, but hopefully I don't lose my humanity. I don't want to, and I'm aware of this. Whereas there's definitely attorneys that I speak to that have zero regard for the people that they help, and they're just vehicles to make them money.
And you do talk to a lot of attorneys. You talk to a lot of cool attorneys on your podcast.
Yeah. Including Raven Hernandez.
Including
CEO
Raven Hernandez.
Of
I am
Earth.
a licensed attorney.
Hell yeah.
In my, I have a TikTok now.
Amazing.
I know.
You did really well in the audio downloads of
thanks.
our,
and just think about what that video would have done if we would have just blasted it everywhere.
Right. Well, we can cut up the video, make some more TikToks for you. There's some very good sound bites in there.
On my TikTok, it says almost attorney.
That's
Even
hilarious.
though I'm legal attorney, I feel like I'm like really more of like
it's more marketable
almost.
To be like
an
almost. What does that mean?
attorney.
It's vague. It's interesting. I want to
what
know
is
more
that?
about her. Yeah.
But you have talked to a lot of really like, I mean, you've talked to like some of the biggest attorneys in the world. Like, who kind of top 3 interviews of attorneys on your podcast rattle them off.
One of them, you, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast, and even if I am, I still stand by it. Another one would probably be Alan Dershowitz. He's kind of the best guest from what I'm trying to do. I like talking to people that are at the top of society or at the edge of society.
Mm-hmm. Am I at the edge or top?
You're at the top.
I'm at the edge.
You're at the top. You're also at the edge because you're a woman that's an entrepreneur in a new space. So there's a lot of edges that you...
I'm basically like near Alan Dershowitz.
You're very close. That's what I was thinking when I could talk to Alan. I was like, how close is this guy to Raven? Wow, they got to get in the same room together, those two.
What was like the kind of takeaway from that conversation with him? Like, what were you like, oh man, like you went there?
He was talking about the age of consent should be lowered for minors and sex. And I was just like, oh, Alan, you really saying all that? What's funny is I tried to get other people from... Whenever I do an interview, I'm always collaborating. It's very much hobbyistic for me still. I'm going to turn
hobbyistic, but Alan Dershowitz is like one of the top attorneys in the world.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I'm crushing it. And I'm going pro now. I'm actually revamping, and I have a lot of exciting stuff that I'm working on in connection with that. But this past 2 years when I've been working on it, I just... It's a little bit hodgepodge, haphazard. I'm like trying to always get a co-host. I'm trying to get a friend who wants to join, and I couldn't get a single person that wanted to be in the same room as this guy. Because originally I was going to fly to Martha's Vineyard to interview him, and everyone was like, "Ooh, I don't want to be in a picture with this guy."
I would have done it.
You would have done it. See, I should have called. There you go.
Let's do it. Let's call him up. I mean, to me, it's just like, yes, fringe, but it's like life experience.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So, what was his reasoning behind lowering consent age? That's kind of like weird territory. You get into like little weird territory there.
Extremely weird territory. I mean, the whole age consent thing is kind of weird in general because it's just this arbitrary cutoff that society has. And like in Utah, it's lower than California. Why is that the case? It's some white guy over there made the rule, and his friend, this like creepy friend on the side, was like, yes, maybe lower it a little more.
Yes, they're like 16 versus 17.
My 4 wives are like, I don't know what they're doing over there. So it's kind of just arbitrary. I think he was under heat for that, and he just wasn't going to back down. That's something I learned from some of the greats. He is just very confident, doesn't back down on anything. He triples down. He quadruples down. Mm-hmm. Netflix makes an allegation, he'll sue them. He'll go, he's 85 years old. He will sue them. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need to do this headache, but just to put it on the record.
And so you were inspired by that.
On some level, that tenacity, I love that. There's a woman that I interviewed, Susan Estridge, not out yet, but she was like the first woman to head a Democratic or any presidential campaign. She was running the campaign. Mm-hmm. She was big in the 90s on TV commentary. She's represented not Harvey Weinstein. Who was the guy on Fox News that went down? They made a movie, Roger Ailes. Yeah, she defended him. So she's really high powered. She's friends with Alan. So I told her about Alan, and I was like, off the record, do you think that him and Jeffrey Epstein were doing something? She goes, Alan talks about himself too much. Even if there was crazy stuff going on in these parties, he was talking about himself to some other person. I just thought it was so funny. So it's fun to get insights off the record from certain folks. And like I knew about Crypto.com Marina. I talked to the deputy GC of the NBA. And so I knew about that before it happened.
And they trusted you to not say anything?
Well, I guess I'm blowing my cover now, but
well, it's already out.
It's already out. And she told me some other crypto stuff that was really fascinating. So
did you make any moves? Did you make any money?
Didn't do anything. I would never. And there's just that ability to get in a room. Like when I talk to you, it's also the stuff that I do outside. So like, getting to know you personally and just absorbing your aura, your energy, the Olive Institute, and showing you to that. Like, you're going to be a billionaire one day, and then I'm going to be like, hey, can you cut a check to my buddy that's changing the world for the better? He's one of the prison
maybe me.
No. I'll make my own billion. I'll be all right.
You're paying for the pod.
I'm paying for the pod. Yeah.
You're paying for the pod. Let's talk about the Olive Institute, because you put me onto this organization. So a little bit about why I'm into criminal justice reform is because my uncle, who I looked at as like my brother, my friend, my father, obviously my uncle, just everything. He was such an important figure in my life. I really did put him on a pedestal that maybe he shouldn't have been on per se, but regardless, he was on that pedestal. He was incarcerated for several years, and I was counting down the days. Anyone in my high school, I was a sophomore in high school, And every single day, I would sit in geometry. Don't know anything about geometry because my teacher was dyslexic. That was my one class that wasn't AP or like honors.
Mm-hmm.
It was math, and surprise, lawyers, we hate math. And so I never paid attention. I literally would cheat off of Layla. She would like pass around her I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble by saying that. I feel like I'm like airing my own dirty laundry. But this chick Layla would like take the whole test, and then she would literally pass her like while the teacher's sitting there, just pass around. We'd all copy off Layla.
She's not dyslexic. She's blind.
That too. And so I didn't learn anything, but what I would do, and I had this notebook every single day, I would count down the days of how many days left were from my uncle from serving. So I'd like make a big, 24 days. And then inside I would like make a theme. So I'd make a bunch of polka dots or, whatever. So all my friends knew that he was getting out of prison. And he gets out in January. And I believe it was January 21st to be exact. And by May 15th, he had been back in the streets and was murdered and dead. And so for me, I got
Awful.
really terrible because what I see is a failure of a system, right? This person did something bad, so we put them in prison, in order to pay for that. But there was no focus on recidivism. And so he went right back into doing the exact stuff, even worse stuff that when he went in. And so, of course, within less than 6 months, he's dead. And so my thing, very early on, I was like, this system's broken. That to me was very apparent. I'm curious as to why you got involved in the Olive Institute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember you telling me that your uncle's case, you were watching some of it, and you were like, I could do better than that. I can do better than that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet
that was a different uncle.
It's a different uncle.
Yeah.
Wow, so you've had your lick with the criminal justice system.
I've been visiting prisons and jails and lots of letters and commissary, and especially as a young woman, I don't know if anybody here can relate to this when they're watching, but when you're a young girl, like 13, 14, and you're visiting prisons, we would drive sometimes like 4 hours, and there was one time where they almost didn't let me go in because my pants were too tight. And I'm like a 14-year-old girl. Like I'm a girl, I'm not a woman. I'm not, like trying to have pants that are too tight. I'm just coming into my age, right? And it's like, no, those are gonna like be distracting for the men in prison, so you can't come in. I'm like, I'm a kid, it's like, what the hell? So yeah, very much so passionate about doing something about that system. But what made you passionate about that?
When you talk about community, you recognize that beautiful gem in the way that you phrased it with regards to the Orthodox community. One thing that I was involved with was there's this rabbi that has ALS, which is this muscle degenerative disease, and he's literally bedridden. And so every Shabbat, Saturday, there's a prayer service held so he can kind of participate, and it's in his room, which is like a makeshift hospital almost. And my parents go every single week to just say hello to this person.
Every single week.
Yeah, they don't know him from Adam. I mean, they just got it. They saw it on a newsletter, and they just go. They went once, and they were just like so moved, and they just go every week. And
it's amazing.
It's amazing. And so I would go some of the time when I was with them, or they would hit me up, oh, we're going. And this other rabbi that runs the Olive Institute, he was there. And so we became friendly through that. One night I saw him, and he looked like he hadn't slept in like weeks, and he was working on this. It's crazy to think how he just took this on in the news. This is already, 9-10 months ago. There's so many news cycles that these things get washed away, although this crisis is still happening. In Afghanistan, the Taliban took over, and these people are the worst of the worst of the worst. And they had been thrown into prison because the regime had changed, but then the United States just evacuated, and there was this vacuum. These guys all get out of prison, and they're just slaughtering men and women in the streets, especially women lawyers and judges that had prosecuted them.
Oh, wow.
So they were hunting them directly. It was a crisis for hundreds and hundreds of people. These women that had dedicated their whole lives. I mean, imagine how brave. It is a big deal that, for someone in America to go to law school, but what does that even look like over there? Like
totally
you're in
different.
Kabul and you're in law school and you're a woman, and then you became a judge.
You
like
could
in
die.
this window, you could die. And
You could literally die.
They were getting beheaded, and it was a thing. that was just terrible and weighing on this person's head. And he decided to jump in, and he chartered at least 3 planes that I know of. So it's like $1 million a pop. And I was on these calls with him. So that's how I got involved. I was like, how do I help you with this? This is just the most incredible initiative I could imagine. How do I help you? And so I was helping a little bit with coordinating with big law firms that have dedicated pro bono staff. So they were helping with coordinating some visas. We got a lot of people through Ireland, Abu Dhabi, and some other landing spots before they could find more permanent spots. But then once I saw that initiative and the scale and the power and the agility of how much they could help people, I was like, okay, this is something that I want to get involved in. And they do a lot of like much smaller, less sexy or domestic things. And I've been working with them ever since that.
And it started with the fact of women lawyers and judges were
getting slaughtered, facing persecution. They actually worked with Kim Kardashian and got a plane. She helped charter a plane that was not as much Aleph, but Aleph was involved in that, and that's just really cool. They do such cool things, heroic things. That's why I'm saying cool. A lot of it's tragic, but they're shining light in places where people don't have any.
Yeah, so. And I think to be an attorney, you do have to think about these tragic things as cool. It's because. How else are you going to think about this terrible stuff?
I mean, just as an opportunity, this is the type of good leverage of power that is interesting and is worthwhile from my perspective.
Absolutely. I'm curious about, because I want to stay in this theme. I know you just have so much in your brain when it comes to law. Like, what are some of the craziest lawsuits you've been a part of?
Oh, Lord. I defended banks.
Banks?
I defended banks kicking old ladies out of houses.
Oh no!
It was that. It was literally that.
Do you feel like you sold your soul a little bit on that?
There were a few nights where I couldn't physically type the brief to get rid of the person from their house.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the cases the bank is not at fault. It's a machine, it's capitalism, you're late on your payments for years. We got to get you out of here. You're not paying your mortgage. Who's supposed to pay? And 90% of the time it's people working the system, which makes it more difficult for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's why there's extra vigilance and fees and all that kind of stuff. But then 10% of the time, through no fault other than just the sheer grinding gears of capitalism, we were getting rid of people that just like, it was a veteran, like the most heartbreaking cases.
Yeah.
So those were definitely wild. And like this one woman was crafty. She came with a duffel bag to like her local Chase Bank. I think it's public information. Yeah. So she would come with a duffel bag of like $250,000. She had owed money for years, never paid. All of a sudden she shows up with $250,000. Stop the auction on my house this afternoon. And the teller's like, that's not how this works. Like, this is a totally different department. But like, I get the email and we actually have to stop the auction, but we still...
You still sold the house?
We still won the case.
No.
I mean, I was the attorney.
You're a good attorney, but
I was blanking people left and right.
Oh my God.
Definitely.
How did you get out of that work?
I didn't want to. A full disclosure, I wanted to get promoted and keep moving up in the company. They weren't promoting me, so I found a better opportunity in another big law firm where I did defending class actions.
You didn't want to get out of that work?
I did not want to get out of that work. I loved the people I worked with. I was on a path to partnership. Physically couldn't do the briefs.
Do you want to be where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because you're kind of already old for not being married and having 3 kids in the community.
You're right. That's definitely true. 5 years. I'd love to be doing more interesting and meaningful work. That's really my focus. And I hope to find a little love along the way.
After our little heart water break, I really love this water. It has pink Himalayan minerals in it.
What does that even mean?
It's just like some stuff that you'd find at Erewhon.
Stuff you'd find at Erewhon. A lot of sodium from the minerals.
In a good way. You actually listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
The sugar industry smeared the salt industry. They did all of these, studies, and then they picked the studies they liked that basically said that sodium and salt is bad for you because they found out when you take in less salt and sodium, which is the exact same thing, so I don't know I'm repeating it, you eat more sugar. So they're like, okay, we need to have a campaign against the salt industry.
Wow.
So nothing to do with our health. Are we surprised?
I mean, the powers that be, power is not just an oppressive force, it's a defining force. So we were at some point eating the wrong thing because of some marketing guy figured it out in some corporate boardroom.
What do you think about corn?
Corn? I don't think about corn.
Never.
I saw that TikTok where the kid went viral. That's the last time I thought about corn.
Yeah.
We're eating too much corn probably.
So much.
There's like most of the aisles in the grocery store are like filled with corn.
Corn products.
Corn products.
Because it is, of course,
subsidized by the government.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, and then it's also GMO'd. So the like organic corn that has no GMO, like the likelihood of you finding strains that are like true ancient grains is highly unlikely. I mean, think about it. When you eat corn, what does it look like when you process it? Like corn. Like you didn't, like your body couldn't break it down. So then you're putting it in everything.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
So then what guides your dietary choices?
That's a great question.
Thank
you
you
for asking. I appreciate it.
I also ask good questions.
Well, it's like you've done this before. For me, it starts with plant-based. It starts with how many ingredients are in this and what was the process that it took to be on my plate. I like to eat a carrot when it looks like a carrot. I'll eat a carrot if it's dehydrated.
You ever heard the song by the Gorillaz, Super Fast?
Sing it.
I'm not going to sing it,
Well,
but
just give me, like,
the
one
lyrics are, the bars are amazing where he's like, super fast, it's going fast, but I'm always in time for breakfast. There's crunchy carrots. No, it's chicken.
What?
Because it's like the chicken that we eat at like Panda Express, it tastes like crunchy, and it's like maybe a shred of like roadkill radioactive chicken that they like made in a lab or something.
Yeah. So basically, like that's one of my dietary.
See, I thought about corn or something.
It's gross. Food is just so far away from food. When I was in law school, the entire time I was eating from a farm, not going to a grocery store. It was amazing. It was beautiful, and it makes me think about that should be everyone's life, regardless of where you live. I mean, the fact that we don't know how to feed ourselves, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy that we've said, hey, the one thing that we need to survive, food, we are going to just like let somebody else figure that out. Like we don't need to learn that. Like we'll just outsource that really important thing. That's a little bit of insanity.
It's very insane.
And that's why I also like the community because they've got, they have the food in house. A
little bit. They're also relying on some other people. But yeah, that's very interesting perspective. I think about transportation and where that's going, like electric vehicles. We're going to be reliant on an electric grid and someone could just shut it off and there's a software and food is like that already. I mean, we have so much collective faith in humanity without even realizing it. Every single day, we rely on the roads, we rely on food, the distributions.
Immanuel Kant's universal law, which is the maxim that in a very non-smart way, I'm going to say it, which is like you have to believe that whatever you do, everyone else can do. It's, if I...
Is that about humility or?
No, it's really about kind of like anarchy in a sense of if I think that it's right for me to run this red light, then I think that it's right for everyone to run a red light. And so then what happens?
I see.
We live in anarchy because everyone's running red lights and you can't trust anyone to run a red light. And so I kind of dictate my choices off that. It's like, okay, if I feel that I can, this is a great example because I do it all the time. I'm going to illegally park. And I'm not going to pay the damn meter. Like I feel like I win in LA when I park somewhere that I know I'm not supposed to and I don't get a ticket. But I think it's bullshit. I don't think so I believe that no one should have to, I believe that it should be fair game. No one should have to pay for parking because we all just fight to the death for the best parking spot. That's what I believe. I don't believe in I hate valet.
It got privatized at one point. They sold it off. It doesn't even go to the city anymore. I mean,
bullshit.
At some point, it's all right.
I hate paid.
That is a bad game to play. Let me tell you, I've played that game. You get one or two tickets, you lose the whole year. I mean, it's like a quarter.
So I hadn't been in LA for a while, and then this past January was the first time I've been back after 2-3 years. And I had a car for a weekend. It was my friend's car for 4 days. And I got $256 for the parking tickets. And I was like, oh, I've been out the game for a long time. Because these damn signs, you'll read them and it's like, no parking on Tuesdays from 4 to 7 except without a permit. And then on Thursdays on the right side of the shoulder from 7 to 2. And you're like, what does that mean? Does that mean I need a permit? Does that mean I don't need a permit at these special times? I don't know what it means.
Love it. I've definitely played those games. My dad runs old age homes, so we have a lot of disability placards. And
don't out yourself.
I've never parked. I've never ever parked in a handicapped spot. However, as you know, in LA, there's all these signs. What's going on? Even on a residential block, if you go to Beverly Hills, you have no idea. District 41 exempt, but this time, that, like you said, I was parking in front of UCLA Law, not a crime, on a curb in front of someone's house for months. And then finally they busted me. It was the biggest whopping ticket I've ever gotten in my life.
We recently got a ticket because we didn't turn the wheel. You know, like there are streets where you have to turn.
Horrible.
We have an electric vehicle. It's not going to just roll backwards all of a sudden. Like, what kind of cars are just rolling backwards? Like, that's, to me.
And then the ticket doubles if you don't pay.
Yeah.
So if you forget or don't see it.
Don't want to pay.
Then you don't want to pay, and now you're digging your heels in for no reason.
Oh, my God. I will say, I will oust myself because I feel like that's the name of this game. It's like just Raven, like, telling stories that she makes herself look bad.
Oh, no.
I had a family member. I needed a car. I was freshly paying for my own bills at 16, 17, a senior in high school. And I needed to buy a car, but I only had like $1,000. And I had a family member who had a friend who owed them a favor. I don't know what the favor was. I didn't ask. All I know is I got this car for like $500. I bought this
There was
car.
like a finger in the glove compartment.
It was disgusting. My girlfriends at the time, they were really wealthy, and their mom really loved me for whatever reason. And I remember I drove it up. It was nighttime. It was like 8 p.m. and I drove it up, and the mom's just like, "Oh, honey," she's like, "Let's clean this right now." And we spent like up until midnight cleaning this.
Wow.
You thought the seats were brown. They were white after you cleaned it. But the moral of the story is there was a handicap parking decal in that car.
Oh, baby. That's a good story.
I
like
very
that.
good story.
That's also really illuminating, though, because it sounds like you came from these like really rough parts of the world, but then you also have these really wealthy friends who are kind of benevolent. I mean, the kind of benevolence is not about wealth, but there's a socioeconomic thing there that's
that same mom
incongruent.
That car, the gas gauge, it was broke. So you had to tell yourself in your brain, okay, I put 5 gallons in, 5 gallons times however many miles it got to the gallon. I can get 75 miles on that tank. And you had to always remember like how many miles you could get. Of course, there were several times
where you ran out of gas.
Like 2 or 3 times. And that particular mom, so I was staying at a friend's house, and the mom's house was near this friend's house, and I got a call that I was going to get an in-person interview for Lipscomb University, my undergrad that I went to, and I had to go in person to a part of Nashville, like 30 minutes away, and I didn't have the gas money to go, and for whatever reason, that mom happened to call me. I don't know why she called me. I don't know if she's like looking for her daughter. My friends are troublemakers too. So she really should have like even supportive of me hanging out with her daughter. But she calls me, and I tell her that I got this interview, but I don't have any gas money. And she was like, I'm going to drive over and give you $20 so you can fill up your gas tank.
Wow.
I mean, little stuff like that. Like, I never paid her back.
That's
but,
beautiful.
It was beautiful, and it got me to that interview, and I got a full ride to school, and just like little things like that. Like, I'm excited to be in that stage of my life soon where I can do that, for other people, where I can be like, oh, I think you need this. Here you go.
Thanks for the water.
You got it. You got it. No problem. So you've done a bit of traveling.
Sure.
You've practiced while you've traveled at Austria's largest law firm.
Yeah.
Have you always been
Who does your
studious and
research? Look at
smart?
this team, this research team
We
you've
know
got
a lot
going
of stuff
on.
about you, Jason. You're a very interesting man. You're one of the world's most interesting men in Beverly Hills and the community. So
that got very narrow.
We narrowed it down.
But I'll take that. So the question is about my travels, or
Yeah.
just to speak on that, I guess. I went to study in Vienna. I had a Viennese professor in UCLA, and he was like, I always wanted to do a semester abroad because why not? And he convinced me that he'll get me the job at this large law firm. And my grandfather actually had been in death camps in northern Austria. So I was able to do Holocaust sightseeing. Sightseeing is the wrong word, but you get the picture. It's not sightseeing. Reflection.
Yeah.
And when they were like charging me for a train ticket, and I was like, you didn't charge him for his train ticket when you shipped him up there.
Did you really say that?
I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. I should have said that.
I wouldn't have paid. I'd been like, the last time my ancestors were on this train, so I'm not paying.
I mean,
I don't like to pay for things, basically, is what the moral of the story is. I don't like to pay for parking. I don't like,
That's why the Jews like you. So didn't tell the guy that, but I was thinking that it's actually interesting. The public transportation there is just unparalleled to any other city I've ever been in. They had trams to buses to trains. As a student, I paid €75, and then I never had to pay for another train ticket. So yeah, for the whole time I was there.
Like a year pass, like an
it was
annual
a
pass?
6-month pass.
Oh my gosh!
I was like, hell yeah, So
and it's like clean and nice. It's not like Skid Row-y vibes.
Gorgeous. There's nothing on the streets. I don't know when they clean. I don't really see cleaners, but it's really, really pretty. And I loved it there. I got to learn about a whole new culture. They're very closed on Sunday. It's a Catholic culture, so nothing. You can't get milk. You can't get to a grocery store. It's all family time. So there's museums that are open, and it's just a different vibe. In the United States, Jay-Z is like the godfather of the American dream. Like, I mean, you're next, but it's Jay-Z who's like pushing these CDs out of his car and rags to riches. But he didn't get there by not working 7 days a week. Like in America, we work 7 days a week if you're trying to make it. I mean, maybe you could work 6 days a week. Maybe you get to take one day off, but you're working 6 days a week. I'm sure you work 7 days a week. And that is just not the culture there. Like Friday at 12 to Monday at 12, there's no work. They're smoking cigarettes. They're having a good time. They're having family time.
Do you like that type of culture?
It was good to see it, but I don't identify with that at all.
No. You identify with the slave.
It's not a slave. It's the curse of ambition.
The curse of ambition. That's better, because I do feel like a little bit in the United States we are a slave to capitalism in the sense of we know we can achieve it. We just know we have to, be indebted to this lifestyle of you work until you get it, and that might mean working.
Yeah, we definitely overvalue productivity as an American society.
Absolutely.
We put it in a pedestal, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best. Like my mom, her GDP that she generated was probably not that much, and she's still alive and she should live and be well for many years, but she was a homemaker. She helped my dad in the business when she could, but she works as hard as Elon Musk. I swear that woman is up.
She had to raise you.
She had to raise me.
Jeez.
Definitely the period of 92 to whatever. Definitely. And she's up at 6 a.m. to 11 with the community. She's baking cookies. There was this family joke. She was always making food, and I would always joke that, are you sending this to the Israeli army? Like, why are you always making so much food? Where does it go? And it's because she's always making food and dinner for this person that had sick and this person that needed it.
The community takes care of themselves.
She ended up manifesting it, though, because she became friendly with these Israeli army guys that are very high up now. They became friendly over the years. They stayed just one Shabbat. A friend of a friend, can you host them? And then they just became friends, and they've since come with their families. One of them had to come for medical treatment, and we've hosted them.
Wow.
And she actually went to Israel, and she got like private security detail on her little sightseeing tour with my dad. And she gave cookies finally to like all of these Israeli soldiers. And it actually, like, the humorous thing.
Like her pride in this, like, full circle. Like,
full circle.
Look at you people. I have private security because I took care of some people.
Definitely.
That's amazing.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was really cute. They were like sending me videos. They're in like Humvees, and there's like 6 guys with machine guns, and
I can't wait to go to Israel. I can't wait. It's going to be so cool.
It's a cool country. It's really cool. I lived there for a year too.
You did? Why did you
I lived there after I did yeshiva there, which is just, you're just studying Talmudic, like ancient Torah law, and in the heart of Jerusalem. And it's a wild country. It's run by teenagers for the most part. It's like 18-year-olds with machine guns have the most power on the ground floor. So it was very, very beautiful. Like LA, you have mountains, you can get snow and surf on the same day. Really different, every type of terrain, really, really pretty.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I was reading this article recently in the New York Times, which I'm not saying is a reputable or unreputable source. I'm just saying that's where the article was read. And it was talking about the Hasidic community and the schooling. I don't know if you saw.
Sure.
You saw this. It was like a really in-depth piece. And it wasn't necessarily a good piece, but it was talking about how, so they took like 1,000 students and boys, and they tested them all on like normal state level testing, and 100% of them failed the testing because they're not actually learning. They're only learning historical things within the community, and they're learning Hebrew. They're not learning like sciences and math and reading. They're not learning anything of that. Do you like when you read pieces like that? Do you feel like, okay, are they trying to just attack the community, but also there's validity here, but it's difficult to maybe like identify with the validity because they are at the same time, in a sense, attacking a way of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hit piece, and they can go screw themselves because there's so many other problems with the world that you're going to go, like, focus on, 50,000 Jewish boys in, like, the Bronx, or I don't know where they are exactly, Williamsburg.
Yeah, like Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn, like, what are you doing? I mean,
their point of the fact that, like, how many billions of dollars of state funding taxpayer dollars has gone into these schools.
Let's look at a full audit of where all the taxpayer dollars go in Los Angeles, in every other big city, of what's going where. I mean, to zero in on that just seems absolutely ridiculous, but someone had an agenda, and there's a ton of validity to it. My own education, I don't think that it was very good. I mean, I ended up fine. I went to UCLA Law, so I did.
You're doing okay.
That's the thing also. It's like there's so many successful people that come out of that community, no matter what. They're running businesses that are huge, or they become lawyers. That's not who the hit piece is talking about. They're talking about the kids that like walk out and they don't even speak English. Literally. And there is that, and it's very unfortunate. But I think that that's more of a product of bad religion than anything else, of just extremism in religion than anything else.
I appreciate that viewpoint, because when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, it did what the article did, what it was supposed to do, which is be like, oh wow, like are they not teaching these kids what they're supposed to, and then our money is going to that, and they can't even speak English, and how are they supposed to operate in society? And then they're like, are they trying to create like this like cult type situation where they can't operate in society? But then to your point, I like how you were like, well, let's take a step back and like let's look at all the other schools, let's look at the inner city schools.
Are you kidding me? How good are
English.
public schools? What is that? What's happening there? We just took a huge dump on the whole schooling system, and there's a reason for that. I do not think that there's good products coming out of that sort of institutional hierarchy. And look at big education. That's a terrible business model where they're just taxing students.
It's such
and
bullshit.
It's terrible.
Higher education, I think it's just so messed up how we have been told that you go and get a degree and you will be fine, because that's not true. That is not true by any means. I mean, I know women who got degrees for like wedding planning. You don't need a degree for that. Like, just go be a wedding planner. Like, who sold you this lie that you get a degree and then you'll be fine? You could have just like gone and been what's the word when you train under somebody else who has a certain type of
apprentice.
You could have just apprenticed.
Absolutely, which should be the whole model. Austria has that, where it's law school was like $500 a year, and then people would apprentice under someone, and that's you don't know
to this day they still do that.
To this day, and you don't know anything about lawyering in law school. You just paid $150,000, and you need to take a separate course in order to pass the bar exam.
Literally.
That doesn't make any sense. I just did 3 years. What's this new test? What's this license that I'm going to get? I have to take another separate organization's course in order to pass this exam? When I was defending the big banks on house loans, I was also defending them against student loans. Navient is the most shady company you can ever imagine. The loans that they would give people, culinary school. Why is this person paying $75,000 to try and get a degree go work as a line cook somewhere?
Go to Arby's. Like, literally go
anything
go
else.
do
But
anything.
people just make a bad decision and then they get sucked in the sunk cost fallacy, and there's over $1 trillion in student loan debt. I mean, where's the New York Times? No. Where's the New York Times article on that? Just grilling that sort of thing. And there's all kinds of bigger things to hone in on educational fallacies that we are involved in, that I don't think that was really worth all that much time, although there was some validity to it.
I mean, it was an interesting piece, and I think, it did what it was supposed to do, which is create a little bit of controversy.
Right.
And I'm always curious when I read stuff like that. I'm like, ooh, who pissed off who? You know what I mean? Like, there's always
I think she was a Jewish writer. I could be wrong. I believe she is. So it could be she has some chip on her shoulder from somewhere, but I don't know.
To me, it's like you don't knock down the community.
Yeah.
You don't air out your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
When you've got, in any community, I think like the Latina community we are like very good at that, which is like when you got a problem, you talk about it behind closed doors. Like, you don't ever hear the Hispanic or Latin, whatever. You don't hear either that community ever talking about publicly, like, all the things in which it's wrong. Like, we're not that. We really don't complain about a lot, I feel like. Like, we're just trying to get by and send some money back home, and we enjoy, like, a beer in the afternoon, you know? I think that is one thing I wish my community would do more of, which is, like, reach outside of our comfort zones. You know, we've done a lot within blue collar work, and I think it's time now for this next generation to kind of like step out of that and create generational wealth that just hasn't been felt within the Hispanic community.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because our parents are still fighting to survive, that we haven't yet had the opportunity to see how to thrive.
Mm. Do you speak from your own like personal experience? I mean, I didn't know that your dad was so out of the picture in your world.
Yeah, my dad was a drug addict. So very much.
Did he reach out to you when you started really making it big?
No.
That's so sad.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's not.
I mean,
I would just think instinctively that
they like he would.
That you would find it sad that he didn't.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he has reached out. I don't even know the last time he reached out. I mean, he's a lot of my, like, I am very much so, without having spent many years around him, I am a lot like him. And so it's interesting to, like, probably know where his brain is coming from, which is a little bit of ego, of being like, I'm not going to reach out to her. She can reach out to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, a little bit of psychology in the sense of, and he also knows he's not wanted. So he's like, again, coming from.
But there's some vulnerability on your end for you to reveal that sort of thing that you struggle with, and we all do. But that's very courageous of you to sort of say that you have that game that you'll play where it's like, I'm not going to make the first move, or.
Well, and he's also, I feel like he knows that he would be rejected. And back to me, like, not liking failure, back to me not liking, like, first place. Like, if I don't know that I'm going to 100% win at something, it's like, why try? So I feel like he potentially might have that within him of being like, I don't want to be rejected, so I'm just not going to reach out because she's rejected me in the past, or she's made it very clear that she doesn't want to have this relationship with me because, so we're airing out all my dirty laundry.
I don't know how this is happening. Is that true? I think that.
Well, so I got in trouble when I was 14, 15. There's actually one time that I was arrested, and my mom doesn't know about it, so I'll have to tell her about that one day. I'm gonna get her on the podcast. And
nice,
tell her.
You should.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell her about. You should tell your mom about that time you got in trouble and had a mugshot. So there's one time though I did get in trouble, and I realized it was because he had created this dynamic that allowed me to do whatever the hell I wanted at an age where I shouldn't.
When did he walk out of your world?
So I met him. So he was like an active figure in my life from like 10 to 15.
That's it.
Yeah.
Where is he 0 to 10? Just off doing drugs on a bender somewhere.
Supposedly he sold drugs to like some celebrities. I mean, he has pictures to prove it. So, I mean, he was out there. Supposedly he was taking motorcycles to Mexico and saddling back drugs and bringing them in. He's always like portrayed a bigger,
larger than life personality of sorts.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of it's actually true, like actually how much he did. I think it's like, it sounds cool to be a drug king versus being like, I sold, ounces every once in a while, and that's how I fed my addiction. It's
God.
Probably what actually happened. But no, I got in trouble. And I'm so my whole thing is like, I was a straight A student, and so because I was a straight A student, I could do whatever I wanted on the other side. So it was like we would go to. Remember that X movie, like the Project X movie? You remember that movie where it was like this that crazy wild party? That was my high school experience every single weekend.
Oh, God.
Literally every Friday and Saturday night, it was people doing Molly, people doing ecstasy, people doing, which is basically the same thing, people doing Xanax. I had 3 girlfriends, and we would all have a bottle of Burnett's vodka, each one of us at 15 years old. Ooh. We would all have like what is it, like a liter that we would all drink each one of us had our own like 4
So
liters.
cool now that you've moved very far away from that lifestyle.
Yes, I've moved very far away from the Burnett's, but I was getting into this because I was getting the freedom of him. So I would go over to his house. I'd be like, Mom, I'm going to my dad's house. And when I went over there, I did whatever the hell I wanted to do. So then I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And then I'd be gone the entire weekend of just like party. I mean, it was to the point where there was this one party I'll never forget. And this family, don't know whose house it was, had bought a brand new house. A very humble home. It was like a 2-3 bedroom, 2-3 bathroom, like 1 floor. They hadn't even laid the grass in the front lawn, okay? They haven't moved in. They've got fresh carpet, a refrigerator, the power's on. I mean, I'm laying the scenario, right? It had rained, and so they're like the construction guys had put a bunch of, pieces of 2x4 to walk into the house and not walk through the mud.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid whose parents owned the house threw a party there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was muddy. And
Oh,
we
God.
put $50,000 worth of damage into this home. I saw people peeing in, because the plumbing, I don't even think the plumbing was working, so people were like peeing in the corners of like the closet. I mean, there was probably in that house like a couple hundred kids at any one given time. We had fog machines, we had a DJ, people were doing...
The kid, though, threw the party. It wasn't someone else, so that kid just torched. I hope they had insurance or something. Probably not. Probably not.
And that
cow.
probably was like a big deal for that family to buy their home, and we just destroyed it. So I'm really sorry about that. Was an amazing party. It was one
So
of the best parties.
you owe one woman $20 for gas, and then you owe another one probably there's 200 kids, $50,000 divided by I'm not good at math, a couple grand or whatever.
I didn't pee in any of the I didn't pee in any of the corners of the house. So I feel like my damage to the home, like
you'd price it at what, like $500? If that.
Like I would give
tracked
that just
in
because
some mud.
Literally tracked in some mud. I mean, that was a sketch. I remember that party. I remember my friends had this was back in the day where there was this like type of pill that you would buy at a gas station that was basically like ecstasy.
What?
You guys didn't have
what
those?
gas station? No, Tennessee had different gas stations
Tennessee,
back in the day.
yeah,
We
so
sell bananas in California's gas stations. That's what we're selling.
Yeah, well, they weren't organic bananas, so
No.
like organic, non-organic GMO bananas, ecstasy pills. It's like all the same stuff. But yeah, all my friends, I remember being like, I'm not doing that. Like that, I did a lot of stuff, but I was like gas station pills, probably we shouldn't do that. And everybody was like, yeah, let's do it. And all my friends did it, and so they were out of their minds, and I wasn't. For whatever reason, I remember just being like very aware of the situation at this party, and I got actually cornered a couple of times by guys like trying to like take advantage of me because they thought like I was on the level of everybody else, and it was just being like one of those really seedy. But that's why I stopped hanging out with my father, my biological father, because I was getting myself into these situations where it was like, obviously I'm a child and I don't know how to make good decisions because here I am, with my friends who are doing drug gas station ecstasy. So yeah, that was kind of the situation.
Whatever the hell that really is, no one knows.
I mean, there was a lot of pills that these kids did in high school. I mean, they had these things called Mexican bars. They weren't made by Mexicans. It was just a slang term where like they would press. I think they would take like one real Xanax and then they would break it off into a bunch and then they put other stuff into it and then they'd press it back to where it looked like it was
a pill of sorts.
Yeah, but it was mixed with other stuff.
That sounds fun. It seems like you got your party days way out from... You got it out of your system at 15.
By the time I turned 21, the last time I got drunk in Nashville was on my 21st birthday.
Mm-hmm. Do you drink alcohol now?
No. Hard
Zero.
kombucha.
That's about it.
Hard kombucha. Like every now and then, sometimes when I'm with friends and like I can tell like they really like are like they just want to feel like I'm one of them. I'll like order a grapefruit juice and then I'll order a shot on the side and I'll like act like I'm pouring a little bit into it and then I'll like give it to somebody else. Be like, oh, we're having a drink together. They're like, yeah, Raven's having a drink, and I'm like, I'm not having a drink with you.
Wow. And you don't smoke weed?
Mm-mm.
No.
I'm
Even though
not
that's natural?
I'm not going to say
Or
that
what
I
about
do
edible?
or that I don't on this podcast.
Why? It's legal in California. Now you're telling me that you do.
I do believe in THC being something that is natural.
What are we in a deposition and like this is the Clinton impeachment? I may or may not have inhaled or whatever the hell he said to get.
Have you watched the
out of
Lil
that.
Wayne deposition?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, quality content. That dude. mwah.
Such good content where he's literally being asked straightforward. He's like, do you remember that time that you performed at the VMAs? I don't recall. Do you remember that time you won 5 awards at the VMAs? I don't recall. And it's like, that's the best.
The best. And he just says, like, he threatens the other attorney at one point. He's like, you know that guy, like the mediator, the judge who's in the room. He's like, that guy can't protect you on the streets. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And then he just doesn't say anything and just stares at him for like 5 minutes. Oh, there's so many moments in that thing. He's a legend.
Have you ever been sued?
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't plan on it. I mean, maybe. I think it's a mark of success at some point to get sued.
Yeah.
But I've not been sued. Have you been sued?
I'm asking the questions.
You're asking the questions?
I'm asking the questions. No,
here.
this is my podcast. You can ask questions.
I mean, I'm curious.
Podcast.
Okay, I'll have you on again.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I'll answer all of the questions on your podcast when hopefully like people that like me don't watch. Like hopefully like just random people watch yours.
The new audience, you're willing to spill the beans to them, but not the people that follow you intensely?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already spilled a lot. I think this episode has been really great from a vulnerability perspective. I don't know who was vulnerable. I think you started off vulnerable because we talked about something very near and dear to your heart, which is like, you know, the Orthodox community and how you've been pushing the boundaries and the limits of it. And then I talked about, you know,
your upbringing
and drugs and stuff.
But also how you're food conscious and certain things that relate to the way you, I don't believe this fully, but the way you do anything is the way you do everything. There's some weight to that where you can really get like a blink snapshot of someone's persona and character by just sort of anything that they're doing.
Well, let's end with this. Like what philosophical ideas do you live your life by?
I think that language is so crazy. You're saying sounds and then those sound waves hit my head, travel through this conduit in my brain and evoke these things, and now we're understanding and exchanging ideas because of that. Like, I hate talking to people about the weather. I get it, it's a shared experience and it's safe, so that happens a lot. But let's go for the jugular. Like, have you ever been in love? Do you believe in love? What does that mean for you? Those kinds of questions. And I believe that we should just encourage more vulnerable conversations and more exchanging of thoughts, because that's what will make the world better, and that's how we're evolving so much faster.
Vulnerability, suing people, representing the banks, and the fact that you are a very much so single bachelor Jewish man who's looking for love.
Looking for love,
and who's willing to give it.
My publicist gave me all this down.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on. How can we go and listen to your podcast?
Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I'm going to launch a website soon. That's one of the exciting things I was discovering. So as soon as that's in, I'll make sure you put that in the show notes. But really excited. Thanks so much. You're awesome. This is a great podcast. I can't wait to see where this goes. I already follow, but I'm going to keep following.
Well, cheers, Jason. We'll continue to be best friends.
Likewise. Yeah. I feel that way.